Hi guys, no graphics, just a quick one from me. The video that you're seeing is a pre-recorded video since I am away on holiday. So if anything I say is out of date or things have happened that is reflective of a couple of days ago, that will be why. It is a pre-recorded video. I'm currently on the beach somewhere, probably getting sunburnt on the beach. I've not been away from this country for 4 years, so can't wait for that. It's been a long deserved break for me, but I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if there is anything I say that's out of date, do bear in mind that is the reason why. But can't wait to see you guys again soon. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hello guys, and welcome back to Lex Alexis. We are carrying on with our predictions, and we're going to now predict the official League One 25-26 table. My goodness me, the roster for League One this year is amazing with the quality of teams that we've got. Some teams I would have never imagined that I'm going to be predicting a League One season for. Ultimately, just proving that anyone could be in this league in whatever position. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. I will be very interested to see your guys' predictions as well in the comments down below. And as always, it's only for a little bit of fun. I'm not really going to take this too seriously. And when you are giving your opinions, just be respectful about it, and please do leave your predictions in the comments down below. If you're going to enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. It really does help the growth of this channel. The subscriber getting the channel today is La Yinya. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. It is tremendously appreciated. If you subscribe to the channel, that could very well be you in the next video. It's always terrifically appreciated. And if you could share the channel too, that really helps too. Without any further ado, let's start predicting the 25-26 League One table. So back into my favourite bit of software now, the tier list. So we're starting things off with Barnsley. Conor Hourihane is their manager, who I would have never thought he would have been a manager at this point of his time and his career. But here we are, that is what he is now doing. And they were very underwhelming, Barnsley, last season, and definitely weren't hitting anywhere near the same heights as they typically would do. I do sense that there will be an improvement. It's just a question whether they can improve enough getting into the top 6. They finished in, was it 12th last season? Absolutely terrible in terms of their actual expectations. I think it's going to be tough for them to get into it this year, but I sense Barnsley could be in a mid-table position. I'd say 8th place out of those positions there. So I think they'll be there or thereabouts, but I just don't think they will make it into the top 6. A team that could make it to top 6, however, is Blackpool. This will be the first full season of Steve Bruce with Blackpool, and I am a big fan of what Blackpool were under him when he did join. They actually had brilliant form since he joined. I'm a big fan of some of the transfers that Blackpool have made as well. Niall Ennis, Bailey Peacock-Farrell, they got recently as a goalkeeper from Birmingham. This, I think, will be a season where Blackpool will be very close, and I think they'll be jumping across these tiers. But for me, I think they'll just miss out. I think they're going to finish 7th, literally one place above Barnsley, but I think they'll be sniffing for it, and I see Steve Bruce improving this Blackpool squad. I think they finished, was it 9th last year? So it will be an improvement, but I just don't think it'll be quite be enough for top 6, sadly. Bolton were another team that were a little bit underwhelming. They finished in 8th place. They were pretty competitive at the start of the season, and what happened was they dismissed Ian Evatt in the end. Steven Schumacher came in, had a brilliant victory over Birmingham, and then it didn't prove to really kick Bolton on at all, which surprised me really. I thought with them beating Birmingham in the performance level that they did, I thought they could sustain it, but they didn't. They pretty struggled with it actually, and this is no coincidence, right? But I literally think that those 3 teams are going to be in the same 3 positions in a row in the table. I see Bolton being a team sniffing for playoffs, but for me still, I'm not entirely convinced with the combination of the squad. They have undoubtedly got a manager who is capable of doing it, but I just think the teams above them might be able to get a little bit more consistency down, and I think they'll go in. So, next is Bradford. So, am I going to be predicting Bradford to be in mid-table? Yes, I am, but it's not going to be right next to Bolton. So, Bradford have had a brilliant season. They got promoted on the final day of League Two in pretty dramatic circumstances as well. They nearly bottled it, but they did manage to hold their nerve. And I got to say, especially at home, they looked amazing. I saw them against Colchester, and they were absolutely dominant. They were a completely different level to an informed Colchester side who looked unbeatable at this point of the season. I think this Bradford side are actually going to do the best out of the four recently promoted teams from League Two. But I think that highest that they'll be is a mid-table position. I think they'll be, if I've got to think of a position for them, probably 14th or 15th, 15th probably, realistically. So I'd say in the lower section of the mid-table, but I think Bradford will have a really good season. Burton Albion next. This is an interesting one. So Burton, for the past couple of seasons, have been skirting and flirting with the prospect of relegation, but they just find a way to survive. And I've got to say, I've been very, very impressed in the manner of them surviving in League One. They've just got something about them that allows them to, find enough form for them to survive. And in the end of it, they were relentless to the other four teams fighting for relegation as well. They managed to keep on with their form, and in the end of it, I actually think Burton have earned for me another survival. I'm liking the transfer of Tavares. I actually think he could be a good signing for them from Coventry. So I think, whilst I think Burton will be involved in the relegation battle just from the quality of the squad, I think they will survive again. So I'm going to go for 20th place for Burton Albion. Now we have Cardiff. So they're going to be the first team out of the three recently relegated teams from the Championship. Brian Barry Murphy is the manager. So he's been involved with Manchester City and Leicester in terms of his managerial careers. Assistant managerial careers, I should say. In terms of managerial careers, he's got a 30% win rate percentage. It's not particularly great, but I'm liking the approach of them going for a bit of a hard reset. I think that is what is needed, and I think with the opportunities he has gained being an assistant manager, especially with Manchester City, I think that would certainly benefit the development of the future of this squad as well. Can I see them getting playoffs? I'm actually going to say yes, but only just. So it was Blackpool and Cardiff, the two that I was really toying with of his last playoff place, but I think it could go to Cardiff, but I wouldn't be surprised if Blackpool take it too. I think it's that close. Exeter are the next team that I'm going to predict. I like them. I really do like Exeter, and I do like what they're all about. I think their home form is very, very strong. And I like the talented players that they've managed to get from that squad over the years as well. So they have naturally been used to selling off their better players for big career prospects, but they have been able to find a way to cope with that. And I could see them and Burton kind of playing in the same form together, but I think they will be ever so slightly above Burton. I think they'll finish around 19th. I think there's no illusion. I think they will be in a relegation battle. So they were 16th last season, so arguably mid-table position, but I think the teams going up from League 2 are going to make things very competitive for them, and I think they'll make it really, really tough. So I think a couple of places dropped, but I think Exeter still have enough about them to survive. Next is Huddersfield. And I've got to say, Huddersfield, I think, have been the busiest club out of not only every club in League One, but the whole EFL as a whole. Probably with the exception of Birmingham. They've made so many signings. Marcus Harness is one of my favourite ones that they got really early on. I am a big fan of that signing. There's more as well. Jack Watmore they got really recently. I'm a big fan of that signing too. They got Lee Grant as a manager who's been involved more or less recently with Ipswich Town. The thing that's holding me back is I'm just not too sure how Lee Grant's going to be as a full-blown manager. I mean, Huddersfield finished 10th, and I think with the signings that they've got, they have to improve. And for me, I actually think they get a playoff place, and I think they'll finish above Cardiff. I think they will finish around 4th place. So I think there will be an improvement for Huddersfield just from the fact that their squad, I think, has improved. I'm just not too sure on the manager. That's why I'm not predicting them any higher. But I'm quite excited to see how Huddersfield are going to go this year. I've been very impressed with their transfer business. Leyton Orient are going to be the next team I'm going to talk about. Obviously, they were one game away for having their first ever championship season since the rebrand, and it would have been an amazing story for them. But they were denied from a Gillespie free kick, and they did rely on a couple of loan players last season, most notably Charlie Kelman. I do sense that and trust that they will replace those players with even better players, but I think it's going to be tough for Leyton Orient to repeat that form of getting into the top 6. I think they'll finish 10th. I think they will still compete with Blackpool, Barnsley, Bolton, and themselves of getting into the top 6, but it's going to be tough. And personally, for me, I think they will just fall short ever so slightly. Right, next team to talk about is Lincoln. Lincoln are a pretty stable League One club. They haven't really given me too many indications that they're going to have any dangers of relegation, possibly. It's a tough one. I mean, they certainly have plateaued a little bit. They had a couple of seasons where they looked like they were knocking on the door of getting into the Championship. I don't think we're going to see that here for this season, personally. I do think quite similar to Leyton Orient and Bradford. I think they're going to be in between those two. Maybe more or less closer to Bradford. I think 14th seems a bit of a realistic expectation for Lincoln going into this season. Luton Town are next. And yeah, it's strange to see Luton Town back in League One. You know, being 2 seasons ago in the Premier League. It's just crazy how things could change so quickly. Now, Luton, of course, we're going to lose players. Carlton Morris, of course, has departed them for Derby County, and then we've seen quite a few other, Luton players leave to join Charlton, Reece Burt being one, and Maury Bell being another. But I like the additions of Kyle Naismith. I love the fact that they got him in. Nahki Wells, I think, will also be a revelation for this level 2. So I'm a big fan of Luton. Whilst they lost, I think they've actually gained as good, if not even maybe slightly better quality. And I think they are my favourites to currently win the League One as it stands. And actually, with Mike Bloomfield, who has proven he can do well at this level, I just think that does give Luton that competitive advantage there. Let me know what you think so far of this table in the comments down below. Mansfield will be next, and that will be the halfway stage of this prediction. Nigel Clough, I've got a lot of time for him. I thought he did a brilliant job with Burton Albion, and I think he's doing, again, a brilliant job of getting Mansfield a couple of seasons in League One. But their form, Mansfield, in this calendar year has been horrendous, and I think it's going to be very difficult for Mansfield to pick up that form. And I think the most realistic scenario is unfortunately this. I think they will get relegated around 22nd, I think. I think there'll be one team who do a little bit better than Mansfield, and I think there will be up 2 others there. So it'll be a shame if it does end that way, but I personally see Mansfield, with their form leading into the season, I'm not too excited to see them. Next up is Northampton. Kevin Nolan is the manager. They were flirting with relegation a lot of last season. They've just picked up enough crucial and clutch results to get them out of trouble. I'm not too sure of the score quality, and Kevin Nolan as a manager, I'm still a bit nervous about. Unfortunately, and it's going to sound like the same as I said for Mansfield, but it's another relegation. I think they'll be 23rd in this table. I just don't see enough potential that allows me to believe that Northampton will match their 19th place finish from last year. Peterborough, I am really struggling with this one because Peterborough typically fight for playoffs. Last season was terrible by their usual standards. They finished 18th. And they had a real danger, actually, Peterborough, of actually getting dragged into a relegation battle. They kept it together in the second half of the season and managed to go up a couple of places, but nowhere near good enough. I was really, really shocked to see how low they finished. But I do think this season is going to be an interesting one. For the fact they lost Kwame Poku and a couple of other players, it will affect them, I think. I'm going to go 11th. I think they'll be mid-table, and I think it will be a pretty steady improvement, but I don't see them getting playoffs. I think they'll just be a bit too ambitious, unfortunately, in that regard. Doncaster are going into League One as the League Two champions. Grant McCann, in his second spell at Doncaster, doing brilliantly well there. And it felt like to me that no one wanted to win the League Two title at some point. But then Doncaster really put on some really good run of form right at the end of the season, which really allowed them to confirm that position. Where do I see them finishing? I think they'll finish in a similar position to Bradford, but I do think they'll finish a little bit below. Yeah, I do think they'll be comfortable. I don't think they have too many threats of relegation, and I think they will use this season to consolidate their place and will look to see if they can improve for the next couple of seasons. They've got a good enough manager in Grant McCann to do so, like what he did with very small spell that he did with Hull City, getting them out of League One, of course. So he does know how to get teams out of this division. Plymouth Argyle, loads of change, including their manager. They have got Tom Cleverley as their manager, who I'm a big fan of, actually. I thought he got a bit underappreciated with what he did with Watford personally. And I like the signing of Jamie Patterson. I think that is a good signing. Of course, they were going to lose players. Mustafa Mbunu and of course Ryan Hardy, they've all gone, but I actually think the combination with Tom Cleverley's management qualities with the squad, I think it'll get them second. I don't think they'll win, but personally for me, I think they'll get second place in terms of this season. Let me know what you think in the comments. Right, not many left to predict. Let's now go with Port Vale next. So Port Vale under Darren Moore, great manager as well. You see, a lot of these managers I think are of quality, and I think that's just going to make this season so competitive. It really, really does. I thought they did really well, Port Vale, for large spells of League Two. They did have a wobbly moment, but then even when they did, they kept it together and they actually bounced back to League One. First time of asking. Gosh, this is so tough. Do I put Burton down? I think they're going to be 21st, Port Vale. I think it's going to be very close between them and Burton, and I think one of them will survive. One I think will go down. I don't think I've got both of them to survive. So, pretty harshly, because I do like the squad and I do like the manager, but I think it just won't quite be enough. So, yeah, I've got Port Vale down. Really, really brutal, this. Reading is next, and what a turnaround Reading have had. So obviously last season was turbulent, but they had the change of ownership and they managed to get it sorted, and they finished just below playoffs actually. They finished, I think, was it 7th place in the end? So they did really well with all that turmoil when the players not getting paid and still getting 7th place. It's unbelievable. Now they've got a full season under Noel Hunt. Not sure how I feel about him as a manager, but I actually think the whole positive optimism for Reading, I think, could help them carry into the playoffs. I'm going to go for 5th place for Reading, actually. I think we will see a steady improvement. I think, naturally, the momentum is good, and I think that will allow them to thrive in this season. So, yeah, I'm going to go for 5th for Reading here. Stevenage are the next team I'm going to talk about. So, Stevenage at this moment, I thought they actually coped really well of losing Steve Evans. They actually managed to solidify themselves in a pretty consistently good League One team. They finished 14th, actually one place below Steve Evans' team, Rotherham, actually. I think they will drop a couple of places, but I don't think it's going to be significant that they're going to fear relegation battle too much. I think they'll finish 18th. They might have a couple of games and weeks where they think, oh my gosh, if they don't get a result, they could be in trouble here. But I think Stevenage have got enough about them, I think, to accrue enough points to get them out of this situation. So yeah, I'm going to go for 18th place. Wigan Athletic is the next team I'm going to talk about, and it's an interesting one with Wigan. They have got a new manager in Ryan Lowe, who I trust he has done a good job of getting Plymouth out of, not really was responsible for getting Plymouth out of the division, but he built the squad for Stephen Schumacher for him to get Plymouth out of the division. So I do think he's a good manager. He's proven he's a pretty solid manager, I would dare say, in championship level as well. This is League One, so I would expect Wigan to do all right. I'm just not too sure of the quality of the squad. I still think it needs a bit of building still and tinkering. But I think Wigan will improve ever so slightly. I think they were 15th place last year. I think they'll finish 12th this time around. So, yeah, steady and small steps of improvement for Wigan. And I think if they make even more transfers, I think they'll be tempted to either push them even higher. Stockport County are next. And for me, they are certainly going to be at least top 3. I've been a big fan of Stockport since they've been promoted from League 2. And they are fighting to try and be a championship club again. And they're certainly making the right decisions and, strategies in that regard. They, I believe, were quite unlucky. Was it Charlton that they played? No, I think Charlton played Wycombe, so obviously they lost out in the end to Leyton Orient, and it was pretty, not controversial, but it was very, exciting circumstances that allowed the game to go into Leyton Orient's favour. I think Stockport will be pretty ruthless this year. I feel like they are the most likely team out of the non-recently relegated sides to the Championship who I think could get automatically promoted. Right, 3 teams left. Rotherham now. For me, I think they'll be mid-table. I think there is a couple of spaces left in that mid-table. I'm going to put them here. I'm not quite convinced still with that squad. They've lost a couple of players there. They were really underperforming from what they are used to. A bit similar to Peterborough. And this will actually mean that they drop down a couple of places. I'm not seeing enough from the last couple of games that Rotherham are going to have a positive momentum. For me, they're more likely to drop a couple of places. But again, I actually don't think it's going to be relegation-threatening concerns. But I just think they are entering a pretty difficult place at the moment where they've now got to cope that they are a mid-table team. Okay, Wycombe and AFC Wimbledon. I mean, I'm going to get Wimbledon out of the way. They are unfortunately my 24th place team. I think it's going to be very tough for them. Obviously, they did really well to win League 2 via the playoffs, but I just think the jump from League 2 to League 1, I think will be too much for them, unfortunately. Wycombe, this is absolutely brutal, but I've got them, I believe, down here, next to Wigan. This is a tough one. It's an absolute tough one, this. I think they've got Richard Kone still. It's huge, but they've still got him in the club. I don't know. If he gets injured for a good amount of time of the season, I just don't know who they're going to turn to for goals. Mike Dodds as a manager, I'm not wholly convinced. So, with its buts and maybes, I think it's just going to be a season where I think Wycombe could easily flirt with it, but I think could also have some inconsistencies along the way. So that is where I'm going. I think I'm going 13th for Wycombe here. So this is my table, my League 1 table. So in terms of promotion, I've got Luton and Plymouth. In terms of the teams of the playoffs, I think the team who I deem more likely to win the playoffs, I would say Huddersfield actually. Then, obviously, the teams I've got going down are Port Vale, Mansfield, Northampton, and Wimbledon. Let me know what you think of my table, guys, in the comments down below. Alright, and just like that, that is my League 1 table predictions done. As always, you don't have to agree with me. I would be very interested to see your predictions too in the comments down below. Right, now I'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and share. All of that really does help the growth of this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legend Joey for signing of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.